I'm very happy to event this in person, as long as it still can. As Nomoko, we started with the vision and the outlook to make the physical world that we live in machine readable. And that's really what everything drives for us. And machine readable means that it really has three components. So first of all, there's the physical world, and then there's digital twins, which are a data representation of the physical world that we live in. And in the end, there's use cases and digital twin apps, which take this data and actually turn it into use cases around that. So when we jump on the whole bandwagon of Facebook or now Meta, this is essentially the metaverse for the physical world. So sometimes this helps as an explanation. Now, when we started to make a decision which physical asset are we going to digitize first, we looked at what are the large assets in the physical world that are non-digital today. And then you come really, really fast to real estate. And real estate today is the largest financial asset class. So we have roughly $320 trillion in terms of global asset in real estate. It's the largest contributor to CO2 with 40% footprint. So in that sense, it's an extremely important asset class as well. And you have 1.5 billion buildings in the entire globe. So from that standpoint, real estate is a really, really important part of our life. And the digital twin of that asset class is now a data representation that contains everything essentially linked to the building. So this can go from market data, what is the square meter price, this can go to the energy consumption of a house, this can go to how many floors does it have, how many square meters. So you really get in the end a data representation of every single property there is. And what this enables is essentially a platform where then other companies, and PropTech companies are called, can come in and provide their solution, which are then specific for certain use cases on the same platform and on the same data foundation. So what happens is now you have valuation companies, such as, for instance, Fahrländer Partner here in Switzerland, which is the #2 in terms of building valuations. They provide their building valuation in a more automated way on the same platform. And likewise, you go on and you say, now I want to know if a solar panel on my building makes actually sense based on this. Now I can consume the same service, the same application through the same platform. The data is connected and the data can be reused by other applications in the first place. So what's the problem behind that we're solving? And we see really two essential parts. The first one is the data is extremely fragmented. And because the data is so fragmented, you need this consolidated or centralized data to actually make digital solutions work at scale. So if you want to digitally enable the real estate industry, you need to bring this data together. The second part is there's now 3,000 PropTechs, so 3,000 companies which offer property solutions in a digital way to the industry. They're completely disconnected, they don't talk to each other, so whatever data is generated in one app doesn't talk to the next one. So now if I make the conclusion that a solar panel makes sense on this building, I don't pass on that information to the next app, which is then calculating, for instance, my ESG score for a property in the first place. The third part is the whole industry is still stuck in using imagination as the foundation for decision making. We're still using 2D maps, we're still using 2D plans, and in the end we leave that to the imagination of every single person on that part. Now, when we go one step further, what does a digital twin platform for the real estate sector look like? It really has three important components. It has the contextual information, contextual data, which we call a city twin, which gives you the environment. Then it gives you the building twin, which is the building specific information. And then you have the digital twin apps, which are running on top of that infrastructure. What comes into a city twin? Into a city twin, every type of data which is large scale comes in, from public transportation to noise pollution, to heat maps, to everything which is there in terms of zoning law. So anything which is a global data layer that is applicable to the entire environment. To the building twin, I already mentioned before, you have the number of floors, you have the number of square meters, so you have a lot of information points which you can collect on a big data approach. But you also have the bottom-up data, which is coming from the property itself. So this can be IoT sensors in the building, this can be Excel files, this can be ERP systems, which really come then building specifically to life, and you can connect those systems as well. Now, in terms of digital twin apps, this is for us as a company, the biggest work that we do is we onboard those third-party companies to provide their solutions in that context. We have over 30 companies now joining the platform for next years, and that really gives you an experience where out of one hand you can consume all of this. Now, I explained you the entire concept of a digital twin platform and how this helps actually to digitize the asset class of real estate. In October and September, something changed for the industry, and the EU taxonomy for ESG reporting within the asset class of real estate was released. That means for Switzerland in 2023, 2.7 million get applicable theoretically at least for an ESG score. In Europe, that's 260 million buildings. So suddenly we have to start reporting on the ESG criteria for every real estate asset, especially if it's part of a larger portfolio, if it's part of a public listed fund, if it's part of a public listed company, if it's part of the portfolio of a bank, of an insurance. Suddenly you have to start reporting on especially the environmental footprint of a building. That's something which is coming in newly. Deloitte just released their report that they estimate that 35 million buildings have to undergo renovation in order to make them more energy efficient until 2030 in order to meet the goals which have been set forth by the European Union. So now, of course, the question is, first of all, I need to assess what is the energy footprint of a building. Then I need to see, is my building actually in the context of other buildings a good building or a bad building? Is it performing well or not? And then in the third step, I actually have to choose what are the different measures in order to reduce the energy consumption, for instance, for a building. So today, you have that environment where, first of all, you have missing data. So a lot of people we talk to, they say, well, I don't even know what the energy consumption of my building is. Luckily or funnily, this data sometimes is available in other sources. And other companies actually know what the energy footprint of the building is, and the asset owner himself not. Sometimes it lives in Excel files, sometimes it's an ERP system where you have an energy bill. So the data is somewhere there, but it's not consolidated into one place. Then we have a lot of standards which are being thrown around, from national standards like SRI to more, let's say, European standards like GRSB or MSCI for the US. So, of course, also the people ask which standard will apply and which standard will apply in 5 years from now. So again, you have that kind of diversion there. And then, of course, you have to ask yourself, what is the right measure? Luckily, the digital twin as a platform brings a really, really good approach to this. Because first of all, you have the data collection in one place. So this is the foundation of any digital twin platform, that you bring all the different data sources in one place, and now you have that centralized. And from there, you go one step further, and you actually don't care what the reporting standard is that's going to be there, because as long as it's linked to the platform, you can generate those reportings automatically as long as the data is there. So you start to get independence of also future decisions which standards might become valid for your particular company or your particular asset. And then from there, you go one step further and you say, now I want to actually learn what are the improvement measures I can do over time. And there's more and more companies also playing around with much more subtle improvements, such as not replacing the entire windows, but maybe changing the way energy is consumed in the house with a smart software solution, that you don't have to rechange the entire hardware. So more and more solutions will are coming in, and this is then in the end also the place where you can start to find the right implementation partners for those different solutions, because you have been simulating those through, and you had gained a really good understanding that only a software solution can give you in this contextualization. So in that sense, I want to close that for the entire sustainability of buildings, there's a really, really great path forward in terms of providing the digital solutions to find the right track. I don't think it's the right approach to just now start renovating every building and replace every window with something which is protecting more energy, but actually the smart path is to find the right solutions for the right building, and this is something you can only do once software is actually supporting that entire journey. Thank you.